Alright, so this is the start of movie month. We're going to be looking at a bunch of different movie games. Today we're starting out with The Thing. This is a good shooter that greatly respects the movie and also has some creatively ambitious mechanics. I also know that Dead Space took a lot of inspiration from the Thing IP in general, but I do think that it may have been also influenced by this game a little. But before we get into the gameplay, if you like alien invasion stories where you don't know who you can trust, check this out.
What Happens After Midnight, my action survival horror game, is available right now. You're sent to investigate the town of Night Vale and quickly find out interdimensional forces are invading our world. Hop between worlds, meet strange characters, and survive cosmic horrors once you find out what happens after midnight. Also, any feedback is greatly appreciated.
This game is a decent third-person shooter with a heavy aim assist, sort of like the older GTA games. And considering you're going up against melee guys, you think that it would be a little too easy, but they find various ways to make it fun. Although one of the things is that the fodder enemy of the game is these little tentacle guys that are always lunging everywhere, which makes them hard to hit even with the heavy aim assist. And it ironically makes the big guys actually easier to fight, even though they have more health. The bigger enemies do have a mechanic of having to finish them off with a flamethrower, which is fun and stays true to the movies. But they're still easier than the little guys. There is a boss enemy that gets repeated a couple times, and it isn't that hard either. It just does more damage and has more health. There's good weapons and gear variety, and the hit sounds and visuals have a good feel to them. There's a fairly good squad system where you have the medic and the mechanic as specialized NPC allies. You also have the soldier, but they just sort of shoot things. The medic guy gives you free healing, and the mechanic can power different things on. Sometimes you need a mechanic to progress the story, but it usually doesn't feel like an escort mission because they're relatively capable if they have a gun. There's also one level where you get captured and lose your gear and have to more heavily rely on your squad. It makes it feel like a puzzle, and is actually probably the best level in the game. The squad members also have unique names and some unique cutscenes, making them seem more like real characters. The big problem with that, though, is that you lose your squad at the end of each mission, so you can't really get attached to any of them. At the same time, I see why they did it. They don't want you to be able to have 20 NPC allies and have them do everything for you. Probably the most creative idea in this game is that any member of your squad can be secretly part of the thing. That being said, it's not executed that well. The only way you can be betrayed by them is just them trying to kill you. And seeing how this is a video game, it's not that big a deal. It would have been a much better mechanic if they could steal items from you and push you down a hole like Patches from Dark Souls and force you to take an alternate route or something. That's harder. To be fair, this is already more in depth than most games of the day with that sort of thing. And even today, there's a lot of games without that much depth. And another thing that weakens this mechanic is the fact that blood tests are relatively common, and you can pretty easily tell who's the thing in your party. There's also the mental health of your squad members, where you have to keep them calm and keep them from going crazy. You can use blood tests on yourself to prove you're not the thing to gain their trust, and give them weapons and adrenaline to improve their morale. But this all just basically acts as a second health bar for your squad mates, and isn't as complex as it could be. But again, it is a lot more complex than some games of the era. As for the story, it's a relatively simple story that just kind of continues the movie's story, but doesn't really expand upon it that much, outside of upping the stakes a bit. There are a couple of decent self-contained moments with the characters, but other than that, it's just okay. The visuals are pretty good. Again, they extend the movie, and you get to see the aftermath of what happened to the base in the first level. I was worried the whole 7 hours would be spent rummaging through different research bases and similar buildings, but after about halfway, they start to give you better environmental variety. Also, the remaster did a good job of improving the visuals without straying too far from the original vision. Overall, this is a good game where the developers clearly appreciate the source material. It also has a lot of good ideas that could have been great ideas if they were developed a bit more. And I would really like to see another take on a Thing game, especially with the framework this game is set. As for this game, I'm going to give it an 8.04. Before we wrap things up, there are actually a couple of spoilers that I want to talk about, so consider this your spoiler warning. First thing is that the game actually gives a more definitive ending than the movie, where MacReady lives and Childs is dead. Apparently John Carpenter really liked this game and considers it canon. He even has a cameo in it. I'm not sure if this means that Carpenter never meant the ending to be ambiguous, where maybe one of them was the Thing, but it does kind of seem more hopeful knowing one of them is alive, which will probably make some people mad because they like a good pessimistic ending, I guess. You know, because they don't really want like a cheery ending to a horror movie necessarily. I will say that this game is definitely ending on a more positive note than The Thing, but I still think it works good enough. The other thing is that The Thing talks outside of pretending to be a human. It's brief, but he basically just says, "You can't stop me, I'm going to infect the world." But I feel like if we're going to do something that big, we should really get a little more than that. It's like if Jason Voorhees talked, and all he said was "die teenager." And I'm not counting Jason Goes to Hell, because that movie is just kind of stupid. Like, I'd really like to know, like, what does the Thing want? Is it just trying to survive, or does he just want to conquer the world? I'm sure that's probably in a comic or something, but I'm just talking about the game. So that's about it. Thank you anyone who likes, comments, or subscribes. That's it.